Hello everybody, welcome back to Marty Motoring. Today we're installing some headlights on this 2008 ISF that belongs to my friend Freddie here. If you want to get a set of these headlights, click the link in the description down below and use my code Marty Motoring. You can get 10% off. Let's get into the install.
Hey guys, Freddie with Poor Man Mods here. So before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of backstory on why I want to replace the headlights on this car. Well, for one, it's a 2008, so it's 12 years old, and you guys know with old headlights, they start to get foggy. These are going to need restored to look good, but they're not going to look brand new even if you restore them. I haven't had good luck with that really. Second thing is, these headlights are plagued with HID issues. They have a ballast underneath the headlights, so whenever moisture gets in here, it rains or whatever, the water goes down to the ballast and fries them out. I've replaced the ballast on this car twice already. I've only had the car for 2 years. And if your ballasts aren't going bad, your headlights are going bad, then you have to troubleshoot which it is, because your lights could be out, but it could be a bulb or a ballast, and you have to figure it out. And to replace a ballast, headlight has to come off. You have to do the whole job, and it's just a pain in the butt. Going to these DEPO headlights will eliminate the HID system, converting it to, you can either have the halogen bulbs that come with it, or you can upgrade to LEDs, making the system much more easier to work with. And if your bulb goes out in the future, you don't have to take the bumper off to fix it. So that's why I want to get rid of these bad boys and go to the DEPO lights.
So here we have the headlight. This is the DEPO version 2. The difference between version 1 and version 2 is that you get this check mark, but it's actually going to be bright because there's a harness that will allow us to run a brighter LED check mark. On the version 1, there was just a parking light. So I think this will look a lot better. You do have your chrome bezel on the projector. There is an option to get LED turn signals from Unique Style Racing, who is the distributor of these DEPO headlights. So you have the halogen high beam and daytime running light. Then you have the turn signal with built-in resistors from Unique Style Racing. And then for the low beams, we're going to be putting in LEDs. We're going to put LEDs in there just for a nice white light to hopefully match this check mark. On the back here, you have your high beam access, and then your low beam is under here, just like OEM. You have your adjustments, pretty much just like the stock ones, so let's unbox the other one now.
When we open the box for the other headlight, we find a harness and some zip ties that we'll need later on, as well as instructions how to use that. Once we get the headlight out of the packaging, we can open up the low beam access and change out the halogen bulb, as seen here, with some LED low beams that our friend Freddie has picked out for his lights. Since the LED bulbs have a little bit more wiring than the halogen bulbs, it just needs to be tucked into the housing, and then the cap can be put back on. Next, we're going to do the same thing for the high beam, same process. Take out the halogen bulb, plug in an LED bulb, and tuck everything in. Now, of course, this is totally optional. This is just something Freddie wanted to do, but now the lights are all set up with LEDs. The first part of this process is to get the front bumper off, so we need to remove the tray and clips in the engine bay. That'll give us access to the 10mm bolt holding the grille on, as well as the Phillips screw and clips surrounding the grille. Next, we put the car on ramps just to gain access to the underside of the bumper for its removal.
I want to say, depending on the age and condition of your car, you may have more or less fasteners holding the bottom of the bumper on. I'm missing some people don't have any.
Once the front bumper is removed, the headlight harness can be accessed and disconnected. There are 3 bolts that hold the headlight on, one on the side, one towards the center, and one on the top. Now the headlight can be removed freely.
So we swapped LED into the low beam, and then Freddie had some LEDs from his high beams on his stock light that we put in. Now we will be taking this bracket from the OEM light and putting it onto the DEPO, and that helps hold on the bumper, and then we can put these back onto the car. So it looks like the bracket doesn't line up 100% with what we thought would be the factory hole. So what Freddie's gonna do is use a smaller screw here just to hold this in a little bit better where it looks like it should mount. These are a little bit bigger and then this one's smaller. But the bracket overall fits, so we'll be able to attach our bumper to it.
One thing we noticed while installing is that the bracket holding the headlight harness rubbed against part of the fender, so the bracket just needs to be bent down a little bit and out of the way, and then the harness can be reconnected.
So here we have the factory hazed headlight with the low beam and the high beam, and we're going over to the DEPO that we're installing, which obviously looks a lot better. But one thing we realized is the high beam won't come on unless this is hooked up, which is part of the harness that goes to the battery for the daytime running light.
Yeah, so when we put this headlight in the car, we wanted to do a side-by-side comparison, and the high beam wouldn't work, and we were wondering why. And Marty was like, hey, I wonder if that needs to be connected to power for it to work. And he was absolutely right. So if you just put this headlight in, you're like, oh, let's see what the difference is, high beam and low beam and whatnot. All you would get is the low beam out of this one. So you have to apply power to this wire to get an actual side-by-side, and then the DRL and the high beam will turn on.
So there you can get a picture of what the DRL is going to look like, and the high beam does work.
Yep. And without this, all you get is the low beam. So right now the high beams are on, but it's not.
As you can see.
Yep. For future reference, when you go to put these on and you do a side-by-side, you need to apply power to this first.
So the high beams on this will work once it's hooked up, but you're not going to see that work until everything's hooked up, including the harness. So let's continue the install. So the first headlight is in. The next step is to hook up the harness that is included with the headlights. There is a wire that comes out of each headlight. You connect it to the harness, and this harness has a fuse in line and will connect to the battery.
So this kit is designed to just go right to the battery. It has a fuse inline on the wire, so you don't have to worry about that. So like I said, you can go directly to the battery, but on this car, I actually installed a power block right here, which has a bunch of different posts, and that's where I'm gonna put my wire. It's the same thing as going to the battery, because this is connected to the battery. And if you're considering doing a lot of wiring work to your car or adding a lot of accessories like light bars, different LEDs and stuff like that, I would recommend getting one of these power blocks so you don't have to keep putting stuff on your battery post. This makes it a lot cleaner and easier to work with.
So now that we have the harness hooked up on the driver's side, we can do a side-by-side comparison of the factory light and the DEPO light. So now both headlights are on. The harness is hooked up, so we're gonna tuck those wires and get everything back together. So here we have the lights on. Everything is working. We just wanted to test them before we put the bumper back on. You have the checkmark daytime running light and the LED low beam we put in, along with the incandescent turn signal bulb. Now, of course, that can be upgraded to LED as well. Now, one thing to mention is they may need pointed. There is an adjustment on the back of the light that you can access from the engine bay, and you can point the whole housing up or down so that you can get level. The best way to do this is park on a level surface facing a wall or garage, and you'll be able to level them nicely. Now, we're not going to show that in this video, but that is something that will need to be done. We just turned off all the lights in the shop so you can kind of see what it looks like at night and kind of see just a baseline projection. I would say they project just as far as the factory lights, if not farther. They look really good, so some pretty decent projectors in there. We're just in this warehouse, but looks pretty good. So that was the low beams, and here we have the high beams. You can pretty much see everything in here. So that's the install of the DEPO version 2 headlights. We have them here on the ISF. Definitely updated the look. Freddie, what are your thoughts on this?
Man, I have to say I'm absolutely blown away with these headlights. Looking at this car now with these headlights, there's no way you would think it's a 2008. They look so much better. You would think this car is like a 2014, 15, or 16. It does not look like a 2008. The black housings make it look a lot more aggressive. They really weren't that bad to install. The install was pretty straightforward. There was no hardcore wiring, just the one wire that goes to your battery. Really easy install. The light output is great. I have absolutely no complaints about that. And they just make the car look so much better. So big thanks to Marty and DEPO and everyone else involved in this video. Couldn't be happier with them. Yeah, I'm so glad they're on the car now.
If you want a set of these headlights, like I said, click the link in the description down below. Enter the code Marty Motoring at checkout. You'll get 10% off. There's also some other LED options you can get over on Unique Style Racing store. So check them out. Big thanks to them for sending these headlights. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, keep those wheels turning.